So we get started. Do you what you said? 'Cause I don't know. Okay.
I wasn't quite the.
Thank you very, very much. Today is the, Mr. Mayor. Oh, thank you. I didn't see you. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask that roll be taken by city staff. Hi. Okay, I'd like the record to reflect that all are present. And if we could have Mayor Blackburn lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. And first up are comments from the audience. Do we have requests from the public to speak on items not on the agenda?
Mayor, we don't have a current written request to speak, but Jamie and Michael did receive comments from a resident in advance, if they could read those aloud, who wasn't able to attend today.
Ms. Shapiro, were you going to speak on this point or just at a different time?
I had a
On the-
spot for
On
Ms. Shapiro
4A,
on the-
right? On
Mhm.
4A. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you. So, so we have two comments that you said were written.
I want to clarify, the comments that we received did not specify that we should be reading them as public comments. And so at this point, I think we should wait and address these concerns on the staff level and then perhaps bring that to the next meeting.
Thank you very much. So let's move on to item number 3, which is approval of the minutes from prior meetings. We have minutes from July 18th and November 21st, both from 2022. They are on the table in front of you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second?
I'll second, but that was so long ago. I can't remember if I was at those that were related. So
It's in front of, it's actually a packet.
okay.
Yeah.
If I'm able to and I was on there, then I'll second. Bam, on board.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote. Raise your hand. Okay, here we go. Right. You are now. Okay, so it's a 5-1, right? With one abstention, the one being abstained.
I believe it's a 4-0,
Oh, 4-0, that's right. You were, right,
4-0-2.
right. Thank you. Okay, old business, here we go. Update. This is 4A, update on restoration of Audubon Society's wetland preserve. And we do have Ms. Natalie Shapiro here, who is the president of the Buena Vista Audubon Society,
Executive director now.
executive director.
They gave me a raise. Okay. Well, I had a flash drive, but apparently I can't use it. So you won't be able to see the pretty pictures, but I'll just give a quick update on the project. So again, so Buena Vista Audubon owns a 3.8 acre piece of land adjacent to the Buena Vista Lagoon. I think everybody knows about this property, and we acquired funding last year to do 30% design, and which included the studies and surveys needed for the next step. We are all complete with that. And this year we just started the 65% design, which includes permitting in CEQA. So, and I'll just quickly remind everybody, last fall I went into detail, so today's a summary, but our goals are to expand the wetlands on the wetland reserve and deal with some drainage and erosion issues and enhance and realign the current trail that's on the reserve. And then also the area is very degraded with invasive weeds and fill and concrete slabs. So we want to rehabilitate that and put in native plants. So one of the big things we're working on is so this ties in really closely with a larger Buena Vista Lagoon project. So once the lagoon project is finished, the water level in the lagoon will drop 7 feet. And that's because of all the fill removed, all the cattails removed and grading. So that means our wetland reserve won't have any wetlands, right? Because the water level drops. So, and in anticipation of that, we want to do some grading starting in the Fish and Wildlife property, which is the lagoon just south of the wetland reserve, and enhance the wetlands on the wetland reserve. And then that means that when the lagoon project is finished, we'll have wetlands on the wetland reserve. And then in the future, because we're thinking about climate resiliency and sea level rise, once sea level rise kicks in, with the water rising, we'll have more wetlands. So one of the big goals is to create new wetlands, and we're anticipating creating 2 new acres of wetlands. And that's important for a variety of reasons. And one is that wetlands are one of the best ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by storing carbon. So we're very interested in helping to work on that issue, as well as it's very good for biodiversity.
Could I just stop you, pause you there just for a second, because we do have Kim Smith from Sandag here. If you could join us at one of the chairs as an agency that we are working very closely with. And also Mr. Ed Pert, who is with Fish and Wildlife, if you could join us also. Yes, thank you. Because we're probably going to have some comments to hear from the agencies and then open it up to the public. So go ahead, Ms. Shapiro, my apologies. Go ahead.
No worries. Thank you. So where we're at right now is we're just starting on the 65% design. So that's just enhancing the original design we have, which I unfortunately don't have a picture of it, but some of you have seen it. It's basically increasing the wetlands and realigning a trail and then planting native vegetation in certain areas. And what we're doing right now is we're starting on CEQA, and we're using a expedited CEQA process called SERP, and that stands for Statutory Exemption for Restoration Project. And I've been working with Jamie on that. And it's a very nice new process because it streamlines CEQA for restoration projects. And so we're hoping that the city of Oceanside might be the lead, but we're still in discussion about that. And then we'll do permitting. And that's about where we're at right now. Another really key and very important thing that we're working on is we would like to have a crosswalk installed across Coast Highway across from our nature center. So as everybody knows, and anybody who's been at the nature center and once across the street, it's you take your life in your hands when you run across. And if you're disabled or older or have issues, it's downright dangerous to cross. We think a crosswalk's very important for the public health and safety. And as we continue working on the restoration, there'll be more and more need for people to go back and forth. We had contractors there today that needed to use the nature center facilities, but they also had to go across the street. So they were running back and forth, and that wasn't good. And then just as we want to involve the public more in the wetland reserve, we'll have more people going back and forth. So we're hoping that a crosswalk could be in the CIP budget, and understand there's a lot involved in designing, but we're happy to work with the city of Oceanside on that. So that's about all I have. If there are a very quick summary, but if there are any questions or comments?
Well, we also met with the city manager for the city of Oceanside, Jonathan Borrego, regarding the crosswalk. After there was a meeting of the Audubon Society that I attended, that was one of the subject matters. So we went ahead and had the meeting, and there were some ideas about the putting a crosswalk, because we are having more and more activity from volunteers wanting to park at the nature center and then go across the street to the project, to the 3 acres, right? So we talked about maybe expanding like the signage and maybe, putting maybe some bots dots, something that would slow down the traffic on both sides of this area. And I'm sorry, we don't have a map to show you where it would be, but I think most people are aware of what we're talking about. Today, I talked with Mr. Borrego about it. He had a chance to talk to some staff. Perhaps Ms. Timberlake was present. I'm not sure. Yes. Okay. So they were talking about maybe moving it up to, actually to is it Ames Street?
Would it be Eaton Street?
Eaton Street,
Okay,
which is
okay.
pretty long, and it goes up the hill. So it would be very difficult, I think, for most people to do that, to park and then go all the way around to get to the other side. But we talked about maybe going like halfway, putting aside some kind of a crosswalk, like halfway from between where the nature center is and the Eaton Street, because where the nature center is subject to flooding. And if we were to put any kind of lights, it would impact them, might actually affect them in a negative way. So any comments on that? And there was also some discussion about who was supposed to be, would be the agency that would be funding this, because we really ought to be talking about doing it on the Carlsbad side as well as the Oceanside side to slow down the traffic, because there are traffic accidents that are happening on the Carlsbad side, right? With cyclists and yeah, everywhere. Those darn e-bikes now. So my understanding is that discussion hasn't taken place yet about would it be part of the larger project? Because my understanding was that that sometimes that road does flood, and that would have been part of the total fix. Would it be Oceanside, cities of Oceanside, Carlsbad? So, Ms. Timberlake, do you have any other comments about this with respect to city staff? Oceanside city staff?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. From Sandag, Ms. Smith?
I think I got it. I don't have any additional comments. I know that as far as what was cleared environmentally, we never cleared a crosswalk in the EIR. So moving forward, anything that we would look at in the larger project, there was improvements at the crossing there on Carlsbad Boulevard. On the bridge, there was some improvements to deal with the flooding issue, but we had never addressed a crosswalk at all.
Okay. And Mr. Pert from Fish and Wildlife, who's trying to retire, but we're not letting him.
Yeah, good afternoon. I don't think the department has any concerns about that. I don't think that that's our property there. Does anyone know? I don't believe that's our property right there, so we wouldn't have any access agreements that would be required or anything like that.
And if it was actually mid-street versus right at the lagoon, then it would not impact fish and wildlife at all.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Right.
Right.
So this is something that I think is going to be critical. I understand that there's much more foot traffic going on here. Is that correct, Ms. Shapiro?
Very, very true. Yes, we're having more events and just more restoration activities where there is a need to go back and forth. whether it's contractors or members of the public. And we're really involving the community in the design and education. So we want to encourage them to be there, but they also need to use the nature center for facilities when they are at the wetland reserve. So they need to be able to cross safely.
Okay, so if we
Mayor?
could,
Oh, can I say
Yes.
one more thing I just thought of? I'm sorry to interrupt. That the SERP process that Natalie mentioned can accommodate road issues as well. So rather than maybe needing to add that into the EIR for the larger project, if your project is occurring first, which I assume it is,
yeah,
then I think we might be able to build that into the SERP process as well. So you should probably talk to someone in the department who you're working with on that and see how that's been handled in the past.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. That's great.
so my question is, shall we include a crosswalk during with the I don't know if it was an ad hoc committee update on the Buena Vista Lagoon and on the, yeah, if we could include it on the ad hoc committee to discuss if that's something that we can do. So I'd like to make that motion that in the future that be a subject that would be included on the Buena Vista Lagoon Enhancement Ad hoc Committee. And I'll wait to hear from the public at this time and then ask for a second. So do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We do not have any requests to speak on this item at this time.
Is anyone who is present wishing to speak on this item? Doesn't look like anybody's rushing to the podium. Okay, so is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay, sounds good. All right, any discussions, any comments by board members?
Just confirming this is not a commitment, it's a discussion item, is that correct?
Yes. No, I'm not asking for Carlsbad money yet. I mean, did I say yet? Yes. Right. Yeah, and this is for the Oceanside side, but I think that we we can include discussions on the Carlsbad side, if there's any need to, because if we're going to be doing this, if this is, if it'll make it easier to do this as a jointly, then yes, we'll cross that bridge, cross that road,
And I'm voting on the topic that it will be a discussion, not a commitment.
right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, a question, would it be useful to start reaching out to the city of Carlsbad? Mayor Blackburn, do you think that would be useful? Or Mayor Sanchez, do you think at this point we should do that?
The crosswalk that we're specifically talking about is the one at the Buena Vista Lagoon Nature Center, right? Because you have the parking there. And as you said, there are the restrooms and all of that. So people would want to park there. And then because it's so close to your 3 acres, right? So people are naturally going to want to do that and then try to cross the road, and people are driving really fast.
Because I'm
So-
thinking from the Carlsbad side, people are driving faster, may want to be some signage or even a
Right.
road diet. So that's why I was,
Signage,
working with the city of Carlsbad as well.
maybe the, and also the idea of putting bot dots to kind of get people to realize and maybe narrowing the road so it kind of slows down the traffic there. But we can talk about that at the time. But the motion is to include the discussion with the Buena Vista Lagoon Enhancement Ad hoc Committee. Any request to speak?
Can I just ask who's on this is not a hot mic. Who's on the?
It's not?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Do we need hot? Okay.
There
we're
you go.
here.
You're hot now.
Can I just ask who is on the Lagoon Enhancement Ad hoc Committee?
So it has been Sandag and Fish and Wildlife, myself, and Mayor Blackburn, right? No? Okay. Anybody from Carlsbad?
Looking at Kyle.
I think it previously was Mayor Hall. It was Mayor
Hall, that's correct. Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So we need to have someone else, probably from Carlsbad, to be on it.
It's very funny because then Carolyn will make eye contact with you now.
Tell her how busy she's been today.
So many
I
meetings.
have- Certainly, Mr. Mayor, I would love to serve on another ad hoc
Okay.
committee.
Okay, darn it. I will give up my position on it and give it to you.
Thank you.
I mean, this is a good one, though. Better than all the rest.
That's what they all say.
Thank you, sir.
Right, and I think the reason why we had the mayors on there was because we were able to get, like, if we needed to submit letters, it was done, pretty quickly. But certainly, Councilmember Luna will be able to make sure that that happens, right? Yes,
And-
okay.
and the relationship we have with staff and with other council members, if a letter is appropriate, it could be done in a day.
Okay. Or less. Great, thank you. All right, there's a motion and a second, please. If you, agree, say aye. Aye, okay. Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, then it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Now B, update on Buena Vista Lagoon Enhancement Ad Hoc Committee.
That would be me. Thank you. So our ad hoc committee met back in January, and as most of you know, Sandag is currently administering our 2 state grants that we received, totaling $4 million. And we're moving forward with the design of that and also our legal agreement. So within the last 2 months, many of you, I think it started in January, but many of you probably saw some activity in the lagoon. We were doing our geotech, technical investigations, our topography, bathymetry, and some veg assessments. And so we've finished with that. We're out of the lagoon, and our consultant is currently analyzing that data. And then we hope to begin our 30% design soon. And then we're also working as part of the second grant we received from the state. We're working on bringing our legal consultant on board so we can start in on the master agreement. And that is with all the property owners. So I'm hoping to get that on active and on board and start that, kick that off in May. I was hoping to bring good news today. We put in another grant proposal to move us forward in the other half of our design. So to bring this project to shovel-ready project with NOAA's Transformational Habitat Restoration and Coastal Resilience Grants Program. And we were unsuccessful in getting any funding for that grant. We just found out late last week. So I was hoping to have better news. Apparently, NOAA received 170 applications requesting more than 1.1 billion over 3
Oh.
years. So I'm not sure. We'll hopefully find out in the future. We have a debrief scheduled to see how we can, if we need to change things up to make ourselves more competitive moving forward. And then we have a ad hoc meeting scheduled. I think we're trying to schedule that for April. Well, we'll circle back again and start relooking at strategies. One of them could be to reach out to Congressman Levin's office, potentially with the help from both the city of Oceanside and Carlsbad, to look at additional funding. I know there was, Ed, you had mentioned WCB grant funding potentially to fill the gaps. I know if we had received partial funding, but I'm not sure if that's still an option.
Yes, it is. And it's not only WCB that I believe there's programs that would be appropriate to at least put a proposal in. But the department has, I think it's called the Watershed Restoration Grants Program or something like that.
Mhm.
And both of those programs, you can apply at any time. There's no longer a cycle of application. And so we can talk about when the best time to do that would be. I think the best strategy would be to show what progress we've made and then let them know we've done these things and we're ready to come back for the final stage of the planning process. So we can talk about that in April.
Perfect. So look for a doodle poll coming soon if my staff hasn't already sent that out, and we will also include the topic of crosswalk at our next meeting. That concludes my update.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members? Committee members? I see none. Do we have any requests to speak from the public? Okay, anybody present wishing to address this issue? I don't see anyone rising. All right. So yes, I think the earlier the better to have the ad hoc committee meeting, because I know this Friday is a deadline for some of the funding for congressional, used to call them earmarks. So the earlier the better. So that would be great. Thank you. Next is the update on Buena Vista Lagoon Cattail Control Ad Hoc Committee. And Mr. Pert.
Yes. I think our latest update, I'm not sure if we shared this last time, but the department was able to have our staff go out and remove, I don't know how many, exactly how much, how many acres it was of cattail. I know we work with some of the local landowners like Jim and maybe John Tonelli as well to try to identify which areas were the most critical in terms of fire prevention. And we can only do so much because it's a lot of work and we only have so much staff. So we certainly weren't able to do everything that everyone wanted to do. We know that, but I think good progress was made. And now we're back into breeding season. So we can't do any more work until at least the summer sometime, or maybe September, whenever I think, the rails breeding season ends. But we'll plan to do that for next year as well. And we'll work with these folks, I think, like we did last year in terms of identifying which areas are most critical.
Thank you. This is an ad hoc committee on the cattail control. Do we have any interest in serving on this ad hoc committee by anyone? I'm trying to remember who was part of it from, say, the city councils of the cities.
For Carlsbad, Councilmember Norby was the former representative.
Okay,
He is no longer on the council.
right. Thank you.
Saddle Carolyn with one of the ad hocs. I'll take this.
Okay,
Unless, do you have
Do
a
both?
preference to which one you'd like, and I'll take the other one? All right, we'll just leave it where it landed. It doesn't matter to me.
thank you very much. And Councilmember Joyce, would you like to serve on this? Okay, so we've got new members on this committee. If that wasn't exactly on the agenda, but do we have an idea of when these folks will meet again?
I wasn't on that ad hoc committee, so I think.
Yeah,
that
I
it
don't
was
recall when the
CDFW.
next meeting was planned for. And I don't remember seeing one on my calendar soon, but I can go back and check with our staff and see if it makes sense to have another meeting. I would think that we need to do that sometime before the next opportunity to go out and remove cattails, which would be
Okay,
August or
you.
September.
Well, I would, it does sound like we, it is important to have representation on these committees. And I think, did we vote on the last one?
Pardon?
Did we vote on these committee folks? It was just kind of like we agreed, right? So I'm just going to have a motion that at this time that we have a council member, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Boy, I have several of them here. Oh, here. Councilmember Luna serving on the ad hoc committee, having to do the enhancement ad hoc, right? And Council and Mayor Blackburn and Eric, Councilmember Joyce serving on the cattail. So that would be my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those against say nay. Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, so it's unanimous. All right, thank you. And so committee member comments.
I would just kind of ask about, we have our next meeting in May 22nd. What are we looking for to be updated? What, in the overall project? So I know we're looking at trying to get funding. Do we anticipate something new, new information in May on the overall project's progress?
Yeah, I think we will have, I'll always come with an update on the funding and then where we are on those the grants we're administering now. So update on progress, update on potentially new funding opportunities that we're going to go for.
And also there'll be further discussions at the city level for crosswalk. And I understand that there was no boardwalk that was anticipated, right? Along Coast Highway.
So there was the boardwalk, we included the boardwalk in our EIR, but I think it was going to be designed and built by others. So we had never, we weren't going to include that in the final construction.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other committee member comments?
Could I ask, just because we have new members, at the next meeting, could we do a brief overview of the project and kind of just get us all on the same page again? I know we've all had briefings and individual conversations, but I just would like a sense of the project as a whole together.
That'd be great. I can bring a PowerPoint and walk you through where we've been and where we're going. So I can do that.
If you could work with Jamie on that, because apparently if you bring something on the day of, can't do it. My apologies. It is a policy for the city, but I thought, staff level, I mean,
Mayor Sanchez,
usually get around that.
I believe the next meeting will be held at city.
In Carlsbad, so yes.
Yeah,
Do you have a policy about that? Does it?
you can bring a flash drive. We can make either work.
On the day of?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
Or you can email it to us in advance.
And thank you very much, Carlsbad, for hosting the next meeting. So the next meeting is May 22nd, 2023 at 3:30 in the city of Carlsbad. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. It's